pray for us? Yes. You have to. Okay, we'll start with you then. We go to you. No problem. You can pray the two of you. Can start. Yes. Start. Just pray. So, do you know why I allowed them to pray, the two of you? Because when a person wants to pray, don't deny that person a chance to pray. Okay? That's why when they raise their hands, the two of them, that's why I allowed them to pray, all of them. Okay? So, today we are going to learn about the factors that led to the decline of Trans-Saharan trade, and also we're going to cover on the impacts of Trans-Saharan trade. And by the end of this lesson, I expect you to be able to state and explain the factors that led to the decline of Trans-Saharan trade. And I also expect you to discuss or explain the impacts of Trans-Saharan trade. But before we start that, what had we learned in the last lesson yesterday? What had we learned yesterday? Yes? We had learned about the roles of the Tuaregs, right? Any other thing that we learned about? Yes? The role of the Western Sudan traders. The role of the Berbers. Yes?
Difficulties encountered by the traders.
Good. Difficulties that were encountered by the traders. And what are some of the difficulties? I need only 3 points. Difficulties that were encountered by the traders. Yes, the frequent sandstorms. Yes. Yes, the desert insects which were dangerous, like the scorpions and snakes. Yes, at the back there.
The journey was long and tiring.
Yeah, the journey was long and tiresome. I only needed 3. So let's go to the next. What we are supposed to cover today. The factors that led to the decline of Trans-Saharan trade. So let me ask you, just in Kenya, or even in the midst of our class, you may have families who own a shop, or you have maybe your mother works in a shop, or your sister, or your brother, or maybe you yourself over the holiday. So there are some shops where people start, then after a year, the shops have declined, the shops have been closed. So what are some of the reasons that lead to closing of these shops? What are some of the reasons? You find that someone has opened a shop, just after 1 year or 6 months, he has closed the shop. What are some of the reasons that lead to the closure of many shops? Yes? Poor management. Good. Yes. Insecurity. Yes, I told you trade cannot occur where there is no peace. There must be peace for trade to grow. Yes? Continuous losses where you're not getting profits. Yes?
Chiefs and traders became corrupt.
Did you hear the question? What had I asked? I asked, outside here, we have shops. Shops which have started and then closed. So I was asking a general question. Okay? Yes. Yes? Production of similar goods. Yes. Maybe you may be selling this and someone is selling this, and then you find out maybe your business isn't sort of good quality, and so people are just going to this one, and then you end up getting losses. Then you end up closing your shop. Yes? Yes. Yes, as you are thinking. Sorry? High cost of items. Yes. We also have a major reason. Yes? Poor allocation. You are right. Good. Poor allocation. You know, you may, for example, you may be a seller of pork, and then you position your shop around where Muslims live. Do you expect some profit there? No. Do you expect your meat to be bought? No. Because Muslims don't take pork. So that is poor allocation or poor location of the business. We also have finances. Financing is a major reason why people close their shops. You don't have enough capital. Okay? Yes. So today we are going to talk about the reasons or factors that led to the decline of Trans-Saharan trade. So I know you are afraid. I know you know the points. They are so simple. So can I get some of the reasons why Trans-Saharan came to an end? You know, Trans-Saharan does not exist today. So what are some of the reasons that led to its end, that led to its decline? Yes. Insecurity. Can you explain more about insecurity? Insecurity. Explain how. How did they experience insecurity? Yes, your neighbor, can you help her and explain about insecurity? How? Who is going to explain the insecurity point? Yes?
The collapse of the powerful kingdom, which provided them with security.
Yes, that is good. The collapse of powerful kingdoms. For example, we have the Mali Kingdom, the Songhai Kingdom. These kingdoms are found in West Africa. Okay? They are found in West Africa. So, remember, we were talking about the West Sudan rulers. The West Sudan rulers. They were participants of Trans-Saharan trade. And these rulers used to provide security. They used to ensure that the traders are safe. Okay? Now when there is collapse of these kingdoms where the rulers are, then do you expect the security to continue? No. So that's why there was insecurity. So the point of insecurity, you explain using the collapse of powerful kingdoms. Have you got the point?
Yes.
Yes. The second decline, the second reason for the decline of Trans-Saharan, yes?
The rise and the growth of transatlantic trade.
The rise and the growth of transatlantic trade. How did the rise and growth of transatlantic trade lead to the decline of Trans-Saharan? Can you explain?
The people of Western Sudan abandoned the Trans-Saharan trade and adapted the new trade.
Yeah, you are right. Transatlantic trade, it's an example of international trade. Okay? It's an example of international trade. Remember, in Trans-Saharan trade, we say it's a regional trade. So when we're done with the regional trade, we're going to international trade, where we're going to discuss about transatlantic. Transatlantic occurred among 3 countries, okay? 3 continents, and we're going to see them when we reach there. So remember, transatlantic is at a higher level than Trans-Saharan trade. Trans-Saharan trade is a regional, but when you come to transatlantic, it is globally, it is internationally. So remember, when people see that this is something that is involving other countries, then the goods which are being sold, they must be of good quality. So people went for transatlantic trade. Therefore, they abandoned Trans-Saharan trade. The third point, yes, exhaustion of the trade routes. When you talk of exhaustion, I mean just finished. It means the trade routes were finished. They were no longer there. The trade routes, for example, gold. We have so many gold. Yes. Ivory. So exhaustion of trade routes like gold, ivory, they were finished, and therefore they had no anything else to sell. Remember we said gold was the main commodity from West Africa. Good. So if it was exhausted, then what can we sell anyway? Yes, that was the major commodity. The fourth point that led to the decline of Trans-Saharan trade. I need someone from here, someone from this column. I need someone from this column. Yes. The desert conditions. Can you explain about it? Yes, good. For example, the desert insects like scorpions and snakes, which were very dangerous and poisonous. And so maybe when you are stung by it or bitten by it, then you might die. So that was a great challenge that led to decline of Trans-Saharan trade. Good. Another reason for the decline of Trans-Saharan trade, yes. European trading activities along West African coast undermined the trade, the European trading activities. Just like how transatlantic affected Trans-Saharan trade, it's the same way the European trading activities affected Trans-Saharan trade. Have you got the point? Yes. Sorry?
Question. Go on. And when we say insecurity, and when we say Tuaregs they changed their roles as guides and became robbers of the caravan. It can fix the explanation of insecurity.
Yes, it can fix, but the point that you have just said, it is a point on its own. So if you want to explain insecurity using the Tuaregs points changing their role, then you have to state with insecurity. For example, the question comes like this: state and explain the factors that led to the decline of Trans-Saharan trade. So you state the point, you say insecurity, then below it you can say the traders experienced insecurity because their Tuaregs became robbers of their own goods. Okay? Have I answered your question? Okay. So, but the point you have said, it's a point on its own. So the Tuaregs changed their role. They changed their role from being guides to robbers. So we have hypocrites. I hope there are no hypocrites in my class. May they be defeated in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen. So, any other point on the decline of Trans-Saharan trade? Have you answered since morning? Okay, go on.
The abolition of slave trade.
Abolition of slave trade. Can you explain a bit?
Because slaves were one of the major items that were being sold in West Africa.
Yes, good. So abolition of slave trade. Abolition just means removal. It was removed. So abolition of slave trade led to the decline of Trans-Saharan trade. Remember, slaves was one of the commodities we used to get from West Africa. So now we can no longer get trades because the Ottoman Empire, the Ottoman Empire is from North Africa. It's an empire. It was a powerful empire in North Africa, which recently we have its remains in Turkey, the present Turkey. Okay, so the Ottoman Empire led or campaigned for removal or abolition of slave trade. So slaves could no longer be taken from Africa to North Africa for trade purposes. Okay. So any other point left on the reasons for the decline of Trans-Saharan trade? Okay, anyone with a question on reasons for the decline of Trans-Saharan trade? Yes.
Like the point you say, the insecurity.
Yes.
Can it be this under that, under the insecurity?
Which point?
The point of insecurity.
Uh-huh.
You can put the collapse of the powerful kingdoms. You can put it there under the insecurity.
That's
like when you're explaining the insecurity point, you can explain with that of the collapse of the kingdoms.
Exactly. Who had me explaining this point? Who had me? Did you hear? Yes. Can you explain what I said?
The collapse of powerful kingdoms such as Mali and Senegal, which they brought security to the traders, led to insecurity because when the kingdom collapsed, the people started robbing the traders, so the traders were afraid of going to
You got what she said?
Yeah.
That's the same thing I explained. I said, when you're explaining this point, you're talking of insecurity. The collapse of powerful kingdoms like Mali and Songhai led to insecurity. Why? Because we have the West Africa rulers who provided security for the traders. But now, the kingdoms are no longer there. It means the rulers are no longer there also. They don't exist as rulers. So therefore, they cannot continue providing security for the traders. So, are you answered? Thank you. Anyone else with a question? Yes.
In exhaustion of trade goods,
Yes.
we mentioned such as there are goods that we mentioned like gold, slaves, ivory, but there's a certain statement that you said that there was abolition of slave trade.
Yes.
So here it's exhaustion, but there it's abolition.
Yeah.
So where should we place slave trade? Because even slave trade was a good in
You say.
West Africa.
So let me explain it clearly. So in this point, exhaustion of trade goods, it means that the goods are no longer there, like they are finished. Exhaustion just means completion, okay? So you say exhaustion. So just like I've stated this question, state and explain the factors that led to the decline of Trans-Saharan trade. So when you are answering this question, remember the first part is state. You state, then you explain. So when you are stating, you say exhaustion of trade goods. Then when it comes to explanation, you say, for example, gold, salt, slaves. Have you got it? Then when we come to the other point, the one that you are talking of, abolition of slave trade. So that is the stating part, abolition of slave trade. Remember slave trade, this is the buying and selling of people. Okay? Slaves. You are taking people as slaves. You are taking them as trade items. So abolition of slave trade, it just means, for example, maybe I'm the ruler from the Ottoman Empire. I just come here and say, we no longer want people to be taken as slaves to North Africa. Okay? So I make it public. So that means I have abolished a slave trade. I have abolished slave trade. Slaves can no longer be taken to North Africa for trade. So in that point, we're talking of slave trade. We can no longer take the people. And this here, we're talking of slave as a trade good. Are you getting it? Have you got it? You haven't? Who has understood what I've explained? Who have understood what I've explained? Can you explain to her?
that point of exhaustion of trade routes, hapo hivyo inasema slaves hapo slaves ndio walikuwa wanaexploitiwa yani. Alafu hapo kwa abolition of slave trade. Hapo slaves sasa hapo sasa walikataza kuuzwa kwa watu. Na hapo hivyo una state tu slave trade kama item yenye walikuwa wanauza. Lakini kwa hapo kwa abolition slave was the main. Hapo sasa slave ni the main point. Hapo walikataza sasa watu kuuzwa. But hiyo nyingine unasema tu slaves una state kama one of the goods that were being sold. Umeelewa?
Okay, then next time you're explaining a point, you can do it in English, okay? Yes, unless it is a Swahili lesson. So have you understood? In short, this is what I want to tell you. Abolition of slave trade, it led to exhaustion of slaves as trade goods. Have you got that point? Abolition of slave trade, it led to exhaustion of slaves as trade goods. Remember, slaves were being taken as trade goods. Just like I sell gold to someone, I'm also selling a person as a good. Are you getting it? Yes. Thank you. So, any other person with a question on the reasons or factors that led to the decline of Trans-Saharan? Yes.
So like this point, it says the invasion of the Western Sudan by the Moroccans in the 18th century. In that point.
Yes.
Can you explain it?
Okay, invasion of the Moroccan, right? Invasion of the Western Sudan by Morocco. Yes, invasion, it means entering. You are invading a country. Okay, you are getting into a country. So when the Western Sudan entered in Morocco, they did some activities that led to the decline of Trans-Saharan trade. And one of the activities that they engaged in is destruction of the major routes. Destruction of the major routes. Are you getting it? Destruction of the major routes. So, for example, if you want to go to Uganda or Tanzania, you have to know the route which you are supposed to use to reach Uganda or Tanzania. And if you don't know the route, what are you going to do? But you want to reach Tanzania, but you don't know the route. What are you going to do? You are going maybe to use shortcuts. You are going to bypass until you find yourself to Tanzania, right? So that's the same thing that the Western Sudan did and bypassed in Morocco. So they divert. It's like diverting. I don't know which term to use. It's like you are distracting the major trade routes. Are you getting it? Yes. Are you getting it? Have you understood the point? Yes. So they distraction of major trade routes. And remember, the trade routes were key things to Trans-Saharan trade. So if they can't locate their way, in which they used as trade routes, then it means they can't reach North Africa for trade, right? So that led to decline of Trans-Saharan trade. Have you understood? Sorry? You have not understood. This is what I mean. Invasion of Western Sudan by Morocco in the 18th century undermined trading activities. So the point is invasion of Western Sudan to Morocco. Are you getting it? So that is the point. When you are explaining, you said they disrupted the trading activities. How did they disrupt? They disrupted by distracting the trade routes. The trade routes that were used by the Trans-Saharan traders. Have you understood the point? Yes. Anyone else with a question? Yes?
So you mean that if the road was like, let's say this side vegetation and this side vegetation,
Yes.
then the road is here in the middle. So they disrupt by passing through the vegetation.
Let me explain that. You see, these people were using a map. So when I'm talking of distracting, I don't mean like this is the way, and so we are branching another one here. What I mean is this: they were using a map. So let me say maybe this is the map here. So let me say this is the area. So there are so many routes. We have another route, we have another route. And so, remember these people, they wanted to pass by Morocco. And before they used, these traders, before they used to reach where they want to go, they usually used a map. They usually used a map. So they study the map, they check on the map, then they start seeing like, which route can we use so that we may reach, let's say, this is the North Africa. So here we have Morocco. So which route are we going to use so that we can reach Morocco? So they start like, I don't know which term to use, like creating in a map, they start like sketching something so that they can see, oh, we can use this route, maybe we can pass maybe via Atlantic Ocean or Mediterranean Ocean, then we can reach to Morocco. So in their map, they make a route. Are you getting it? Yeah. They make a route. So when they start traveling, they are going to use that route. Remember, it is the same map the people of Trans-Saharan traders were using to locate their routes. Are you getting it? So if they do so, are they not going to distract? Let's say the Trans-Saharan trade, these were their routes. So the Western Sudan have now created their route here. Have they not distracted this and this? They have, right? So this is the distraction I'm talking about. Have you understood? Yes. Anyone else with a question? Yes.
How do they distract? Is there only one route to use or they
No. Remember, we have the major routes and the minor routes. So they both use the major routes and the minor routes. So what I'm telling you is this. They used the map. Remember, they used the map for them to trace their routes. They used the map. And it is the same map they are using. You know, you cannot change a map, right? Yes, like the map of Africa. Can you change the map of Africa? No. It's the same everywhere. So these are traders. Remember, the trade was between people of North Africa and West Africa. And the people who were saying that they have invaded by Morocco, they are West Africa, which are participants of Trans-Saharan trade. So when they are going to make their own routes here, they are distracting the routes that were being established by North Africa. Are you getting it? So have you understood? Thank you. Anyone else who want me to clarify? Yes?
So you mean like when the Western African traders were moving to the North one to invent in Morocco?
Yes.
So they didn't use the main one.
Exactly. They didn't use the trade routes that were being established by North Africa. Have you understood?
Yes.
Yes. They used their own routes. So now they distracted totally. So if they can't agree on the major routes, on the minor routes to be used for Trans-Saharan trade, then it means they can't trade anymore. They will have conflicts, and conflicts will lead to the end of the trade. Am I clear? Yes. Thank you. So can we go to the impacts of Trans-Saharan trade? Yes. Impacts. Impacts are also effects or results. So we have positive impacts and negative impacts. So we are going to start with positive impacts. And they are listed very clearly in your textbooks. Okay? And I don't encourage you to use the textbook right now because you had all the time before my lesson. So you can close the textbooks and tell me the points on the positive impacts of Trans-Saharan trade. I want to see the textbook closed. Okay? Yes, yes. It's led to urbanization. Can you explain?
While they were trading, it led to growth of small settlements.
It led to growth of small settlements or towns. For example, we have a town called Masa. It is in North Africa. We have also Gao. These are some of the towns or centers that grew because of Trans-Saharan trade. Remember, these places were used. We used to get some of the trade goods from these areas. Okay? Yes. The next point, another impact of Trans-Saharan trade. Yes. It led to spread of Islam. Can you explain?
many people are converted to Islamic religion.
Yes, good. Many people were converted to Islam culture. Why? Why do you think they were converted to Islam culture? Because this trade was taking place between North Africa and West Africa. And I told you North Africa comprises of Arabs. And Arabs, most of them are Muslims, right? So as they were exchanging the goods, remember they are interacting. So they are exchanging culture. Okay?
Yes.
And then also one thing that facilitated or interested them to be converted to Islam, it's because of the slave trade. Remember the brotherhood and the sisterhood principle in Muslims. So if you are a Muslim, you cannot be taken as a slave. If you are a Muslim, you cannot be taken as a slave. So people used to take Christians as slaves. So people, they had to convert to Muslims so that they cannot be taken as slaves. Okay? Another point? Sorry? Because that is their principle. They have a principle of brotherhood, right? Brotherhood or sisterhood. Can you explain that? Yes, brotherhood. So it's their principle, okay? And they follow. Do you know Muslims are good in following their Sharia? It's called Sharia, right?
Yeah.
The Muslim law. Okay? Have you answered it? Yeah, okay. Another impact, our time is so much spent, yes? Creating links. So remember this trade was between North Africa region and West Africa region. So it's like creating the link between the two regions. Any other? Yes?
Introduction of new goods.
Introduction of new goods, for example, just the trade goods that we have mentioned. Salt, beads. We never had beads in West Africa. Now West Africa acquiring beads. We never had salt from West Africa. They are now getting it from North Africa. So it is introduction of new trade goods. Yes?
Islamic education.
Sorry?
Islamic education.
Yes, it led to Islamic education. People are now becoming Muslims. So it led to adoption of Islamic culture, and the Islamic institutions or schools were established. For example, we have the University of Timbuktu. It's a university for Islamic. It's an Islamic university. It is in North Africa.
Yes.
Any other positive impact? Yes? Social classes. It led to emergency of social classes. Can you explain? Yeah. When you talk of social classes, we are talking of the three classes. We have the very poor people, we have the poor people, and the rich. So it led to classes. How? Remember we have the wealthy merchants. That is an example of a class. So it means we had rich people and we had poor people. So the people who never engage the trade, they remain poor. Okay? Yes. So we have learned so much. We have learned on the factors that led to the decline of Trans-Saharan trade and impacts of Trans-Saharan trade. So can someone mention some of the reasons for the decline? Only two. Yes. Abolition of slave trade. Yes, you are the one. Insecurity. Exhaustion of trade goods. Thank you so much. So that's the end of our